What is happening, guys? It is Brian, Alsruhe, and as promised, today's video is going to be about pull-up progression. Now, pull-ups should absolutely be part of your programming. Number one, because of shoulder health. If you are doing a lot of pressing, whether it be bench pressing or overhead pressing, you are not balancing out those muscles with rows and pull-ups, then you're gonna have shoulder issues. Number two, it makes your back wider and thicker, which is never really a bad thing. And number three, it's applicable. What are you gonna do if a grizzly bear starts chasing you? Text Leonardo DiCaprio. When it comes to pull-ups, you can pretty much label people in one of two camps. The people who cannot get any and think pull-ups are absolutely impossible, and the second camp, which pull-ups are easy for and they really see no reason why it's not easy for everybody. So today I'm gonna try to help both camps out. Now, if you cannot do a pull-up, there could be a couple things going on. Number one, it could be a strength issue, but honestly, for most people, I would say that is not what's going on. Number two, it could be a certain level of weightlifting girth. If your body composition improves, most likely your weight's gonna come down, and if your weight is coming down, it's gonna be easier to pull your body weight up to a bar. Science. But in my completely irrelevant yet professional opinion, I say most people have problems with pull-ups because of technique. So I'm gonna take the first couple minutes of this video and give you 3 or 4 tips to help improve your pull-up. Let's go. Pull-up tip number one is going to be squeezing the bar as hard as you can. You should be trying to leave fingerprints on that bar. Whether you grab it wide, narrow, straight up and down is up to you. I personally think sticking your arm straight up and down like a pillar is how you can get the most force and will be the most productive for your pulling up-ish, progressing-ish stuff. But no matter where you grab it, you're going to want to squeeze that bar as hard as you possibly can, because I've said it before, the body works synergistically and you can get more muscle fibers recruited if you are squeezing as hard as you can. Pull-up tip number 2 is to breathe and brace the exact same way you would if you were doing a deadlift or a squat. You are still doing a movement that requires a lot of core stabilization, so you want to make your core as much of a cylinder as possible. The best way to do this is once you get up to the pull-up bar and you're squeezing those bars as hard as you possibly can, then you're gonna get a huge belly breath, just like you're getting ready to drop in for a squat or pick up a deadlift, and then start your reps from there. And then if you're one of the more advanced people watching this, if you're doing multiple reps, usually above 10 or whatever, I want you to get as many reps as possible in that first breath, and then you're going to get your breath either at the top of the pull-up or in motion of the pull-up. Do not wait until you're at a dead hang and try to breathe and brace there, because you cannot get air when you are like this. Awesome for signaling field goals, not so good for breathing. Pull-up tip number 3 is going to be to lean back and cross your feet so that you open your hips up. Now, this is gonna stick you in more of a leaned back position, turning the pull-up into more of a row. If you are doing a reverse strict press, that's stupid. Don't be stupid. You want to recruit as many muscle fibers as absolutely possible to get as many pull-ups as you possibly can. And if you have never gotten a pull-up, you're going to need to use a substantial amount of every muscle group that you can possibly draw from to get that first one. So rather than pulling yourself straight up and down in a north-south line, I want you to lean back and retract your scapula. Now, this scapular retraction motion can actually be used as an exercise all on its own. Number one, for building strength in the bottom of the pull-up, but then number 2, also teaching your body how to fire and initiate the actual back muscles that you're gonna be using for the pull-up, rather than just trying to pull yourself up there with those little weak arms, or at least my little weak arms. So you get to the pull-up bar, you get a huge belly breath, you are squeezing the bar as hard as you possibly can, then you're going to lean back and retract your scapula, and then you're going to cross your feet so that you open up your hips, making your body, that body lean, even easier to accomplish. Like I said, this is gonna turn it more into a weird row hybrid, but you can use more muscles in the lean back position, so I would encourage you to do so. And finally, pull-up tip number 4 is do not go to failure. If you guys can do 10 pull-ups, let's just say for instance, 10 pull-ups is your absolute max, and that 10th one is a massive struggle. When you jump back up to the bar for your second set, you're gonna get about 5. And then if 5 is a complete max set for you, then you're gonna come back and get about 3. Pull-ups are kind of a fickle thing in that if you go completely to failure, they kind of cut exponentially, almost in half for your next set. So if you do 20 pull-ups and that is your absolute max, you can just about guarantee your next set's gonna be 10. So if you are trying to get to 20 pull-ups. I would tell you to get to like 15. So you have a couple left in the tank, drop off the bar, shake out your arms, get a couple breaths, jump back up, finish off with your 5 reps. But never go to absolute failure on pull-ups unless it is going to be your absolute last set of the day, because the remaining sets that you have will not go very well at all. And now we're gonna move on to the progression part of this video. I'm gonna split it up into 3 different categories. Number 1 being the absolute novice who cannot do 1 pull-up to 3 pull-ups. So 0 to 3, you're a novice. If you're intermediate, you could probably do somewhere between 3 and 10. I'm gonna do the second part for you, and then the third part's gonna be for advanced people who can do 10, 20, 30, those types of individuals. And I'm gonna give each single group a different idea of what to work on and how they can improve their pull-ups. All right, so for you beginners who can do 0 to 3 pull-ups, there's a couple things I want you to work on. Number 1 are banded pull-ups. Now, I do not like banded pull-ups. I do not think they really translate well over. Also, that assisted pull-up machine that's in your commercial gym where the weight counterbalances, I don't think that really leads too many people to getting pull-ups either. However, I do think the bands are better than the assisted machine. However, the way you set up your bands is going to matter. So I do not like when people put a foot in the band or knee in the band, because I feel like it changes the angle of the pull. So what I do is I set up in a power rack for the people who cannot do a pull-up already, and I stretch a strong band across the bottom. And then they can use both legs, but they can still get their body in that backwards lean, so it is a more natural pull-up progression moving towards actually accomplishing a rep. The last thing you wanna do is get super strong at a different angle than you're actually going to be using, because then that actual movement is not really progressing. I hope that makes sense. Now, since these bands are in a power rack, you can adjust the amount of tension by simply moving the pegs down further and further. So as you need less help on the pull-up, you just use less band tension by lowering the pins down. But I think an even better option than the banded pull-up is the pull-up with a spotter. So all you're gonna do is grab a friend. If you don't have any friends, you gotta work on your social skills, but that will be a completely different video. So grab that friend, and then as you're going up, they're going to give you a spot on your lats as you go up for the pull-up. They're just gonna give you a little push. Now, some of you are gonna need a little bit more push than others, and if you're giving them more work than really needs to be, just consider you're helping them build up shoulders. Good job for you, man. That was very, very generous of you. But a pull-up with a spotter definitely allows you to stay more in that lean back position, so I like it even better than the bands. But let's go ahead and assume that you were just like me and you don't have any friends. A couple options for you are that you could do jumping negative. So you jump all the way up to the top of the pull-up position, or you climb up there with a jump box, or however you need to get up there, you just get up there. Then big belly breath, lower yourself down as slowly as possible. Getting that negative effect will help. That eccentric motion of the pull-up will help build some strength. However, once that starts to become pretty easy and you can stay in a flexed arm hang position for a very long time, we're talking like 45 seconds to a minute type of time that you can hold the top position of pull-up. What I would encourage that you do is in that top position, get a big belly breath, drop in and spring yourself up, almost like the second rep of a deadlift. You have to lower yourself in the correct position. You can't lower yourself from a bar under control without your body going exactly how it's going to be the most powerful. So you lower yourself and then you get your second rep. It's really your first rep, but you're getting that rebound out of the bottom and then trying to spring yourself back up. I've seen a lot of people be able to get their first pull up by doing this method, and then they kind of have that epiphany where it clicks and they see what muscles of their back are actually supposed to be firing. So I would definitely encourage you to give that a try if you do not have friends. All right, so there's a couple options for those of you who can do 0 to 3 pull-ups. I have a lot of other ideas about this. However, this video is gonna get too long if I don't move on. So right now we're moving to people who can do between 3 and 10 pull-ups. So the first thing that I wanna talk about for you guys is a principle called the grease the groove. And the whole idea behind that is if you can do a couple reps of pull-ups, let's say you can get 4 or 5 pull-ups, then you just need to do a smaller number of pull-ups more often. I know numerous people who have hung a pull-up bar up in their office or at their house just in the doorway, and every time you walk past that pull-up bar, you do 2 pull-ups, 3 pull-ups. It really depends on the number that you're at. Like if you can do 10 pull-ups, I'd probably tell you to do 4 or 5 pull-ups. If you can only do 3, I'd tell you to just do 1 pull-up, but do it multiple times a day. Every single time that you get up to use the restroom, do a pull-up. Every time that you get up to go to the refrigerator, you do a pull-up or a small set of pull-ups. If you do that all the time, that has shown time and time again that will absolutely work. It's called the grease the groove principle. If you guys just Google it, you'll see a whole lot more information about it that I am not going to take time to cover right now. All right, so the second option is going to be the weighted negative. So I want you to grab a dip belt. If you do not have a dip belt, I want you to go to the hardware store and buy 4 foot of chain and a carabiner. That will work completely fine. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's gonna hurt, blah, blah, blah. You'll be okay. Doing pull-ups is more important than your comfort. Remember the bear. All right, so what I want you to do with that is suspend some weight from that dip belt. You can use kettlebells, you can use plates, you can use whatever you want. Just find something that is relatively heavy and then drag over some jump boxes or bench press and get yourself to the top position of a pull-up. And then all you're gonna do is lower yourself slowly under control, really trying to focus on using your back to drop your body down, not just sticking all the pressure on your arms. So once you kind of get a feel of how this is gonna go, you can start adding weighted pull-ups in as well. Now I'm gonna talk a lot more about weighted pull-ups for the next section. However, for you guys, if you can do 3 pull-ups, then you can probably do 1 pull-up with 10 pounds around your waist. I would encourage you to do that. I think weighted pull-ups are the #1 way to increase your body weight pull-ups. So you want to start working those, and you just need to add whatever weight you can. So if you can do 7 pull-ups, then I bet you can do a 25-pound plate around your waist for single. And then you're just working singles. Maybe go to the top every minute for like 10 minutes, hit a single pull-up, that's weighted. So for you intermediate puller-uppers, I'm gonna give you 2 more options. #1 is gonna be a pull-up pyramid. I want you to throw this at the end of your deadlift day and at the end of your overhead press day. So you're gonna knock out 10 pull-ups and then immediately jump over and do 10 either handstand push-ups or deficit push-ups. It is up to you at what level you're at. And then you do the same thing with 9 reps, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, until this becomes too easy. Once that happens, right now you're starting at 10 and you're shedding off a rep every single round. So what I'd like you to do is go down the entire pyramid to 1 and then pyramid all the way back up. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is option #1. Option #2 is going to be a monthly challenge. So if you are more in the beginner stage of that intermediate category, what I want you to do is just follow the days of the month. So on the first day of the month, you need to make sure that you get 1 pull-up done. Day 2, you're gonna get 2 pull-ups done. Day 3 is gonna be 3, 4, 5, so I really don't need to keep explaining this to you. So on day 30, you're gonna be doing 30 pull-ups. Now, I'm not saying that you need to knock them out in 1 set. You can take the entire day to do this. So if you're doing the grease the groove principle, if you got up and went to the refrigerator 15 times that day and you did 2 pull-ups every single time, there's your 30 pull-ups. Or if you're doing a workout and after every single overhead press, you end up doing 10 pull-ups, well, there you go, you're set up. You're just doing 30 reps. Now, if you are more in the advanced stage of the intermediate kind of group, then I would tell you to just double the days. So day 1 is gonna be 2 pull-ups. Day 2 is gonna be 4 pull-ups. Day 3 is gonna be 6 pull-ups. Again, hopefully you guys get the idea. But this has done a lot for some of my clients to get them doing more and more pull-ups. Terrific for people going into military, police, fire, places where you need to take a PT test for your job. This works out amazingly well. And finally, for you advanced, beautiful little heathens, people who can do 10 to 20 to 30 pull-ups, this is going to be all about how to improve that total number for you. #1, weighted pull-ups need to become a massive part of your programming. So I like to do this in 3-week waves. Week #1, I do 5 sets of 5, ramping the weights up as heavy as possible. So maybe you can do 100 for 5, then 110 for 5, then 115 for 5, 120. If you end up hitting a top set of 5, because remember, you are not going complete to failure. If you go to complete failure, it is not going to end well unless it is your last set. So if you're doing 5 sets of 5 and in the top set hits on your 3rd, then you just pyramid your way back down. You ramp the weights up, you ramp them back down. Maybe at the beginning you just ramp all the way up, and hopefully you continue that linear progression every 3 weeks. So that is week 1. Week 1 is 5 by 5 on the way to pull up. I would highly recommend that you guys start throwing this in on your overhead press day as the antagonistic muscle group prior to your pressing. So throw in a giant set style, you'll get it done. It won't take your workout any more long, and you're getting more work in the same amount of time. So you're gonna start out doing 5 weighted pull-ups, then 5 strict presses, hit 10 ab wheel rollouts, take 90 seconds rest, go back up to the top. You're doing that 5 times since it's 5 by 5. Now for week 2, I want you to kick down the number of reps and we're gonna up the weight. So now you're really gonna start pushing, trying to move as much weight as possible, suspended from that dip belt around your waist. So I would probably do 6 to 8 sets of 3, as heavy as you possibly can. Again, ramping weights. You work your way up to a top set. If that happens early, then you ramp your way back down, or maybe just ramp all the way up to your 10. But me personally, I like to ramp up to my top set, probably around set number 6 or 7, and then drop off a little bit just to try to actually use the muscle rather than just trying to redline it. Again, don't go to failure. Always make sure that you have a rep in the tank. Now those 4 tips that I gave at the beginning of this video are massively important for those of you doing weighted pull-ups. If you want to be able to increase that pull-up number, you're going to need to get stronger and build the muscles that you're using. So absolutely use those tips on the weighted pull-up. But then we move on to week number 3, which is going to be a body weight conditioning type of thing. And it's just gonna give you a break, because week 1 you did 5x5, week 2 you did 8x3, we're just gonna say. And both of those are heavy. So you just did a super heavy 8 rounds of 3 reps. So now for this last one, we're just gonna go maybe 20, 15, 10 reps of something, again, like pull-ups to handstand push-ups or deficit push-ups, then 15, then 10, and you're just going to roll through that. I would also encourage you to maybe do that pyramid that I talked about for the intermediate lifters just a couple minutes ago. But that 3rd week is kind of a recovery week, and it's also probably a good time to kind of test where you're at, maybe after 3 cycles of 3-week programs, 3 waves, then kind of test out and see where your actual pull-up number is, and I can just about guarantee you it is going to be higher than it was when you started this. But that's all I got for today, guys. Hopefully some of you found this helpful, and it does not matter if you use these methods to get your first pull-up or your 30th pull-up. I would just encourage you to try to get better every single day. Pull-ups will absolutely help your shoulder health. It will also help your back, lat, and bicep development, which I know a lot of you care about your bicep development. You guys wanna know how I got big biceps? It's weighted pull-ups and farmer's walks and strongman movements. I swear to you, they work wonders. You just need to have faith and go after it. So go try out some of these tips, practice, practice, practice. I will catch up with you guys early next week. Until then, go out, do something amazing, realize, keep working hard, be nice to each other. Come on, people. And I'll see you then. My name's Nick. I think I'm awesome.